Thomas wasn't taking care. He biffed the car very hard, and the door came loose. His pistons popped, his traction rods rattled, and his boiler bubbled and bounced. Sir Handel couldn't go on. Then there was trouble. His pistons popped, and his traction rods rattled. Inside the passenger car, the picnic hamper burst open, and the narrow gauge controller and Mrs. Percival were juddered and shuddered. Duncan's wheels rattled over the wobbly track. He applied his brakes, but it was too late. The flatbed bumped into the air. The bell tumbled off the flatbed and rolled down the hill. Clang, clang, boing, went the bell as it fell and fell. He applied his brakes hard. Cinders and ashes, cried Thomas. He heard the flatbed crash into the buffers and then splash into the canal. Faster, wheezed Skarloey. Then there was trouble. Rheneas raced right off the track. Oh no! Once Henry had started them rolling, they wouldn't stop. Help! Cried Henry. Whoa! Then there was trouble. The bubbles blew into his eyes. Thomas couldn't see where he was going, and he bumped straight into the back of Toby. Toby's axle was broken. Sorry, puffed Thomas. Thomas puffed into the sidings and biffed into the buffers. Sticky taffy splattered everywhere. Oh no, moaned Thomas. Suddenly, the signal changed to red. Edward screeched to a stop, but the sides of the freight cars collapsed. Steel pipes toppled all over the tracks. Bust my buffers, puffed Edward. Then they heard Gordon. He was going fast. Then there was trouble. Gordon hit the pipes with a loud crunch. He came off the tracks. Then some pipes dropped from the crane and landed with a clang. Skarloey jumped. His freight cars hit the buffers and bright white flour flew everywhere. Fancy jumping at a silly old crane. Skarloey steamed forward as fast as he could. The log hit Skarloey with a great big boof. Skarloey was dented, and the bull roared. But luckily, no one was hurt. Quick, sir! You must change the points! So the signalman pulled a big lever. Then Thomas watched James fly into the siding. The siding hadn't been used for a long time. It was very overgrown. Thomas heard scratching and scraping sounds. When Thomas saw what had happened, he could not believe his eyes. Cinders and ashes, cried Thomas. All the green and white flags had been ripped from James's funnel and cab. Then there was trouble. Earth and stones tumbled down the bank and blocked Thomas's track. Cinders and ashes, cried Thomas. But he still wanted to deliver Alice's presents. And he pushed forward into the landslide. Thomas was up to his buffers in mud and stones. He tried to push on, but he couldn't. He tried to back out, but he couldn't. Thomas was stuck. Suddenly, the signal turned red. James applied his brakes and screeched to a halt. But Edward couldn't stop in time. Sorry, puffed Edward. Then there was trouble. Just as he got to the top of the hill, the coupling came loose, and Skarloey rolled backwards. "Help!" cried Skarloey, but it was too late. Skarloey's flatbed biffed into the sidings and came off the track. Oh!